He said, "Don't be afraid," right before they took my friend. My best friend was swallowed by a forest 2 years ago, and I ran. That's the truth of it. I can dress it up, I can tell you about the things we saw, the sounds we heard, but it all boils down to that. Isra is gone, and I am here. We weren't looking for trouble. We were just three broke uni students trying to escape the drone of essays and revision. Me, Kian, and Isra. We were a unit. Kian was the wheels, the loudmouth with the shitbox Corsa, and an unearned confidence that could charm a brick wall. Isra was the heart. She saw the world in colors I couldn't even name, and she had a laugh that could cut through the thickest gloom. And me, I guess I was the anchor, the one who was always just there. "There's some woods out past Blackwood Creek," Kian announced one November afternoon. Phone held up like a holy tablet. Half hour, tops. We can watch the sunset, smoke a bit. Get away from this shithole. Isra was in immediately. I was hesitant, but I'd follow those two anywhere. We piled into the Corsa around 6, just as the sky was starting to bruise. The drive was normal. Kian's terrible DNB playlist, Isra making fun of my jacket, the easy back and forth that feels like home. The car park was just a gravel wound in the side of the road. It led to a single path and a bridge. It wasn't metal. It was made of some kind of dark, gnarled wood, almost black and slick with a permanent-looking dampness, even though it hadn't rained. It spanned a sluggish, ink-dark river before the path continued into a wall of trees on the other side. Standing there, a cold I couldn't explain seeped into my bones. The air grew heavy, thick, like before a thunderstorm, and I felt this pull, a quiet, insistent thought that wasn't mine, just a little step. The water looked so soft. It wasn't a gut feeling telling me to leave. It was the opposite. A sick kind of curiosity, an invitation. The forest beyond the bridge didn't look menacing. It looked patient. "Creepy," Isra muttered, pulling her coat tighter. "It's just a bridge," Kian scoffed, already halfway across. "Come on." We followed. We crossed the bridge and walked into the trees, and the world just ended. One moment, the sky was a deep violet. The next, it was gone. Total, suffocating blackness. It didn't feel like the sun had set. It felt like it had been switched off. "Holy shit," Kian said, his voice a little tight. "Did we miss the whole sunset?" "I don't like this," Isra said, her voice small. We fumbled for our phones, the sudden beams of our flashlights feeling pathetic, like poking a sleeping giant with a toothpick. "It's too dark. We could get lost. Can we just not?" I wanted to agree. Every cell in my body was screaming at me to turn around, to run back across that fucked up bridge and never look back. But I heard the disappointment in Kian's voice. "We just got here." So I played it cool. "We'll stick around for a bit, then head back." My turn for music on the drive home, though. I was trying to sound normal, but my heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. We got lost in under 10 minutes. The path we were on just seemed to melt away into nothing. Every direction looked the same, a tangled mess of trunks and grasping branches. And that's when we heard it. A sound, faint at first, carried on the wind. A thin, high wail. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The fuck was that?" Kian whispered, his bravado finally cracking. "I hear it too," I said. Isra didn't say anything, she just moved closer to me. "Probably a fox or something," Kian reasoned, though his voice lacked conviction. "Or some dickheads messing around." But as the wailing continued, intermittent and chilling, I knew it wasn't an animal. And I felt it. The weight of eyes on us. The forest wasn't empty. Our flashlights would catch movement at the edges of the beams, long, distorted shadows that flitted away the second we tried to focus on them. They were too tall, too thin to be human. The air grew colder. We wandered for what felt like hours, calling out, our voices swallowed by the oppressive silence between the wails. Just as the panic was really starting to set its teeth in, Kian said, "Let's just find a spot to get our bearings, then head back." We stumbled into a clearing a few minutes later, and the feeling was immediate. The pressure in the air vanished. The oppressive darkness seemed to recede. It was a small, perfect circle, and through the canopy we could see the sky, a breathtaking tapestry of stars, sharp and brilliant like scattered diamonds. It felt safe. It felt like an apology from the forest. We even saw a shooting star. We collapsed onto the damp ground, the relief so profound it was dizzying. No signal, of course. We started talking about what we'd do when we got home, the conversation frantic, over loud, a desperate attempt to fill the silence. And that's when I smelled it. A sickly sweet rot, like flowers and meat left in a hot car, with an undercurrent of something metallic, coppery. The same smell that clung to the bridge. Then I noticed something else. The forest sounds were gone. No crickets, no rustling leaves, not even the distant wailing. Just our voices and the sound of our own breathing. It wasn't peaceful. It was dead. Shit, Isra said suddenly. I think I dropped my phone. I can't find it. She started patting the ground around her in the dark. Just use your lighter to look, Kian sighed. I can't find that either, she squeaked, her voice pitching with frustration. I sighed, pulling my phone out. Here, I clicked on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, landing on something at the edge of the clearing. I thought it was a tree trunk at first, but it was too close, too lean. I slowly angled the light up, and I saw a man. He was standing not 10 feet from us, impossibly still. He wore a heavy, hooded cloak made of what looked like brown and red rags stitched together. It looked ancient, filthy. A great, tangled beard as white as bone spilled out from under the hood, which shadowed his face in darkness. My blood turned to ice. Look, I croaked, the word catching in my throat. Kian and Isra scrambled up, their own lights flicking on, pinning the figure in a triangle of harsh white light. It didn't move, it just stood there. In the panic, my brain defaulted to aggression. You good, mate? I shouted, trying to sound tough. I thought it was just some nutter, a hermit living out here. Then I saw the others. Behind him, standing just inside the tree line, were more, dozens of them, all in the same ragged cloaks. Some were impossibly tall, looming over us. Others were small as children. A whole crowd of silent, watching figures, ringing our sanctuary, our trap. We were frozen, time stretched and warped. The one I saw first took a single, slow step forward. What he said will be burned into my memory until the day I die. His voice wasn't loud, but it felt like it was inside my head. It was calm, polite, with a thick local accent, like a grandfather talking to a scared kid. You don't need to be afraid. Then, as one, they all started to move. A slow, shuffling advance, closing the circle. That's what broke the spell. Kian shoved me. Are you? Run, he screamed, and he was gone, a blur crashing through the undergrowth. My legs screamed at me to follow. I turned to grab Isra. She was just standing there, her face a pale mask of terror, her eyes wide and fixed on the old man. Isra, come, Owen, I yelled, grabbing her arm. She felt like a statue. I tugged, but she wouldn't budge. And then I saw a hand, long, pale, with dirty, talon-like nails reaching out of the darkness from behind her. It settled gently on her shoulder. That's when I ran. I heard her scream my name, one sharp, terrified sound that was instantly swallowed by a new noise. The figures opened their mouths and a sound came out. Not a scream, but a hum. A low, guttural, discordant note that vibrated through the ground, through my bones, a horrible chorus that seemed to tear the world apart. I've never run like that. I didn't care about the branches whipping my face, the roots trying to trip me. I just ran. I eventually caught up to Kian. We didn't stop until we burst out of the trees and saw the glint of water, the river. The bridge was just ahead. We skidded to a halt, heaving for breath, my lungs on fire. And it hit me. Where's Isra? I gasped. Kian looked at me, his face slick with sweat and tears in the moonlight. The look in his eyes was pure, animal terror. We can't go back, he choked out, and then he was sprinting again. I followed him. Tears were streaming down my face, hot against my cold skin. We scrambled across the bridge, fumbled our way to the car. I looked back. The forest was dark and silent. Nothing followed us. Kian jammed the key into the ignition, his hands shaking so violently it took 3 tries. "Fucking start, you piece of shit," he sobbed. The engine finally caught, and the headlights flared to life, illuminating the tree line directly in front of the car park. And they were there. About 20 of them, partially hidden behind the trees, just watching us. As Keon slammed the car into reverse, one of them stepped forward. It was one of the small ones, child-sized. It was holding something red, Ezra's beanie. It raised a pale, 3-fingered hand and gave us a slow, deliberate wave. Goodbye. We called the police. They didn't believe us. A girl was missing, so they had to look. Search parties combed the woods for days. They found her phone, smashed near the clearing. Nothing else. The fact that Isra had run away from home once when she was 15 became the whole story. They asked us if we'd had a fight, if we'd scared her. Kian and I shattered. We dropped out of uni. I went back to my mom's place. I see him on social media sometimes, a ghost account just like mine. We haven't spoken since the day after it happened. I'm still here, in my childhood bedroom. My mom brings me food. I haven't been outside in over a year. My back garden is full of trees, and sometimes, when the wind is right, I swear I can see them standing there, just at the edge of the shadows, watching, waiting. I have nightmares every night. I see her face, the way she looked right before I left her, and I hear that man's voice. You don't need to be afraid. I've thought about those words 1,000 times a day for 2 years, and I've realized he wasn't talking to us. He was talking to them. He was telling them not to be afraid of us. Sometimes, when it's very quiet, I can hear a humming on the wind, and I think they're singing her name.